Hey, think back to elementary school. Did you guys ever have your school have one of those book fair type deals? You know, the ones that are run by Scholastic? From what I remember, there was like party decorations and everything, and they make a big deal out of it, and all the kids would come into the auditorium to stare at things that they'd want to buy with their parents' money. It was pretty exciting for me as a kid because, well, you know, any excuse to get away from the classroom is good. But other than that, it was really shiny, and it was a bunch of interesting looking books, even though that at the same time they didn't really interest me. Look, I was, and still am, a kid with ADHD, so it was actually really hard for me, it still is, to focus and read books for some reason. I don't know, it's really hard to explain unless you actually have it yourself.
I mean, come on, don't get me wrong. I've read some stuff in the past that's held my attention before, like the Harry Potter series, for instance. I mean, being a kid in a magic world that you never knew existed, come on. Even someone with a short attention span like mine would not resist that.
I don't know why, but I've always found video games more easy to focus on for some reason. Especially even if there's like text on the screen and everything, it's just easier for me to focus on. Reading skill tangent aside, there's a lot of games that were also at these book fairs as well. And I'd go in there and I'd stare at them and just enjoy the box art. Again, we broke even, so, you know, staring had to suffice a lot of the time.
The game disc I'm talking about today, though, was actually in their catalog, which we'd get around the same time as the book fair's arrival. The disc assured me that I was getting 50 games in one. In particular, it was E-Games Incorporated Galaxy of Games disc. How was I going to pass that up? 50? So after a bit of pleading and odd child sounds, my mom got me the disc. And upon acquiring the disc, I quickly installed all the adware that came with it, sneaky bastards, and realized that this was a demo disc for the most part. Double sneaky bastards. I fell for it twice too. One for the oh-so-creatively named yellow version, and once more for the red version. Despite being scammed from my own school, though, I played the demos over and over and over again. That was my game, and darn it, I played them. There are a few games that were really short, full games. It wasn't until recently I had one pop up in my head while I was working at Amazon, and after some brain searching and Googling, I remembered the name of one in particular, Spooky Castle.
And I found out that the game was actually developed by a one-man crew named Hamumu Software. You know, their tagline being dumb games for smart kids or smart people or something. And boy, were they wrong. I fell for it twice. Twice!
Today's game comes from Hamumu Software. It's called The Adventures of Bwafa, weird name, Spooky Castle. Or it's also known as Spooky Castle, The Adventures of Bwafa, Spooky Castle Bwafa, or simply, as I knew it, Spooky Castle. It was a game that was published in 1998 from E-Games on one of their Galaxy of Games demo discs, but was also re-released as a free downloadable game in 2004 on Hamumu's website. So you can check this out yourself if you want to. Of genre, it's a stage-based top-down shooter, or hammerer, I guess you could say. Sure, let's go with that. Top-down hammerer. It's the first of a trilogy, and in my opinion, the best one, despite its rough edges and shorter length in comparison to the others. Alright, I'm gonna go ahead and let you guys know about a bug, though, if you do decide to try this yourself. When you start the game, you'll more than likely be greeted with some really weird graphical issues. I kind of call them glitch rainbows. Basically, whenever the game fades, it does this weird rainbowy effect thing. And part of the screen kept hanging off the right side, but I managed to fix it by forcing the game to run in a window mode. To do this yourself, make or find a shortcut to the game, go to its properties, and type in window at the end of the target field. Hopefully that'll work for you guys like it did me. At any rate, if you manage to fix it, you'll be greeted by... which will be the only bit of music you'll hear in the game. Yeah, unlike its sequels, Dr. Lunatic and Supreme with Cheese, it's kind of quiet. I think it kind of suits it, but for the review, I'm going to edit in some tunes for you.
Yeah, it's actually called Supreme with Cheese. And yeah, the menu actually has like a pizza and everything, pizza. Man, now I'm hungry.
Anywho's, here's the hub world. You only have access to these first few levels here, but you'll gradually make your way up by clearing levels. There's also a tutorial to the right that'll give you a quick rundown of what's what. It's pretty easy to wrap your brain around. Yes. I should have waited. You probably need to know the story for that pun to work. Apparently there's a story involving a bunch of stolen brains from an organ bank by the boss of this game, which is creatively titled the thing. So the objective for each stage is to get in, collect the brains, and get out through the exit, all while fighting off boneheads, mumbles, zombies, spiders, all the spooks. The controls and mechanics are pretty simple. WASD is used to move about, Z to throw hammers once you find them, and shift to activate sticky keys. Crap, hang on. Shift to use the items. The objective is to collect all the zombie brains to decrease the meter to the right to 0. By the way, side note, when your game is bugged to the point of blocking important information upon startup, you may want to fix it, especially when you're selling the sequels for $20 and $30 each, man. There's also keys to collect and unlock doors with. And it really reminds me a lot of good old Chip's Challenge, except you can actually fight back things in this one. Or Chuck's Challenge if you're too young for the former. That reminds me, I gotta put Whoop on my list of characters I want a plush of. His design is so cool. Anyways, you can use the keys multiple times on the respective doors, except for the yellow ones, which you can hold up to 3, but can only be used once. The hammer pickups allow you to, of course, throw hammers, but collecting more than 1, up to 5, can allow you to throw multiple hammers, which is pretty fun. Assuming you can throw them often. See, the default speed in which you throw hammers is really, really slow, so often you'll find yourself throwing and running. It's not a dual-stick shooter, so you actually have to face the direction you're throwing. I assume this is an intentional feature, and it works in the game. You can, however, increase your throw speed by collecting pants of power. Yeah, see, I wasn't joking. It's actually pants.
Just like in real life, having more pants on makes your arms seem faster in comparison. And then your legs fall off due to the lack of circulation. Morbid.
The amount in which the pants increase your rate of fire is about like this. And you're going to want about 2 pairs at least most of the time. Otherwise, you're going to be running and shooting, running and shooting. 1 hammer a second is slow. If you don't get pants, though, there are special items that can help you as well. There's the AK-8087, which is a machine gun, in case you didn't get that joke. Missiles that home in on enemies, sort of, you know, when they want to. There's a reverse hammer that lets you throw hammers backwards, which is super useful. A spring that lets hammers bounce off the walls, which is also super useful. And a hand more of neat and not so neat things. There's also health pickups that take the form of Chinese food.
Which I hate because it makes me want Chinese every time I see it. Now I want Chinese and pizza. Chinese pizza. Is that a thing? Somebody needs to make that. Chinese pizza? Somebody get on that. Get back to me. Let me know how it is. I must know.
Okay, Chinese food is awesome, but what's not awesome is how the health is randomized when you pick them up. So you can hear. This randomization actually counts for the health items that are both dropped by enemies when you defeat them, and the ones just found in the level. It's okay if the ones dropped by enemies are random, whatever, but if they're spawned in the level, you're going to run there for heals if you need them. This is not good, because you may get screwed over. There's also a mechanic that the game doesn't really tell you about in the tutorial, but it actually teaches you pretty well in the stage, the storage shed, through stage design. See how it funnels up and there's items behind there? See, that's pretty good tutorial design. This game has pushable blocks, apparently. It doesn't use them very often, but they're there. There's also 4 hidden keychains you can find, but I'll get to that in a second. Okay, so after going through the tutorial, you want to enter one of these tree stumps here. It took me a little bit to figure that one out as a kid. They don't flash like the tutorial does over here, all rave-like. I'm not asking for a neon sign, but, you know, I can make it a little more obvious. You'll quickly notice that the hammer not being your hands right away is actually part of the game. A lot of the levels start off where you're trying to evade enemies while finding a hammer. This can be a pretty good challenge, as you can see in the first few levels. Even the one that introduces darkness. You'd think that'd be frustrating, but it's pretty well handled. At least it's well handled at first, and I'll get to that in a moment.
Sorry, I know that's 3 things, but I'm gonna come back to them. I promise.
In this game, you'll find that you'll be tanking a lot of damage as well. Fortunately, for the most part, this is taken into consideration in the design. It's part of the game. Don't be afraid to get in your enemy's face either. It's actually more effective in some cases when you've got multiple hammers, as each one is still powerful as just having one. Is there a term for that in games? I don't know what it is, but I just call it pseudo shotgunning. The game is about 19 levels long and can be beaten in about an hour and a half. It's a short game, but it stays just long enough to be interesting and not overstay its welcome, as the game does get a little repetitive rather quick. It kind of unlocks weird, too. I think it unlocks the next section based on how many levels you clear, but not counting certain levels that are sort of hidden off to the side. Well, okay, I wouldn't call them hidden levels, as they aren't really hidden, but they're there. The only level I'd consider hidden, not counting the hidden boss, would be the level that requires you to collect all 4 keychains. They aren't easy to find either. Oh, okay, well, 2 of them are kind of out of the way, and you really just find them by exploring, so they're not too terrible.
Bingo.
It's the other 2 you gotta worry about. One of them is hidden in a specific wall that you have to hit to open up, which only happens one other time in the game, mind you. Even then, the
Bingo.
destroyable wall mechanic isn't even mentioned. So the first time you do it, you figure it out and you might forget it by then. The last one is behind these 3 walls right here, unlocked by really tiny switches you have to walk over on 3 corners of a dark maze filled with these friggin' bats, which I'll get to in a second. I know I keep saying that, but I am. In short, it's reasonable for the first 2, but the second 2 are a headache to get to. Not to mention the payoff really kinda sucks, honestly.
Sorry for spoiling the secret like that, but this is something I want to illustrate called a reward loop, and it's real basic game design. This isn't just to, pick on the dev or anything, but I want to illustrate it for everybody else out there, and I'll get back to it in just a second.
So how about the spooks and mooks you meet, huh? Spooks and mooks. They're pretty interesting with their mechanics and their strange, old-looking, kind of retro, but not really good, but still fun to look at 3D. Mumbles and zombies are sort of your basic Goomba mooks, if you will, that roam around towards you with different loot drops. Boneheads, spitters, and aquazoids roam around and shoot stuff in different ways, different frequencies, and on different terrain. Eensy Weensies are sort of your cannon fodder, or hammer fodder, I guess you could say, that spawn from these really tanky egg sacs. I mean, I could go on about the enemies for a while. They're all nice and they have a unique feel, so the game makes you want to see what you get to smash next. What kind of mooks and gooks and whoops and boop. The levels are sometimes even themed around the mechanics they have, too. Seriously, the levels are themed pretty well in general, for that matter. They also mesh well without overstaying their welcome too terribly much, which may be accredited to the game's short length overall. Sometimes less is more, believe it or not. It's like lemon in your Southern style sweet tea. Too much is but too little is I love the bosses, too, with their silly names and whatnot. There's only 3, but they're great battles. I mean, check out Richie Lich here. It's a skull enemy that shoots these big death beams and a flurry of bullets from his eyes. Then there's the final boss, being the Thing, which is, well, it's clearly a thing. Look at that thing. Look at the thing that spawns thingies and shoots mortar out of its mouth with that kind of satisfying, that thum.
I adore the freaking names in this game. I mean, come on, Richie Lich. It's corny enough to just work. The only thing that would have made it perfect is if he shot out, like, fire engulfed money or gold coins. And then every now and then he'd go, hala hala gedala. And the final boss minions are actually called thingies. The Thing spawns thingies. What does the Thing need with brains anyways? What does a tentacle creature with a weird blah mouth need with those things? All I know is the Thing stole these things for something. Thing-a-ding-ding, thing-a-ding-ding.
The only enemies I really don't like in this game are the super zombies, and that's because they're tanky, and they're strong, and they're really not fun to fight. They suck. The time you fight one in a tower, that's fine, as it's an arena-type stage, and there's plenty of health to fall back on, even with the randomized heal property. But there's 2 other stages that I cannot stand, the biggest offender probably being the chase, as you have to fight off 3 super zombies. With the AK-80290210, I don't know what the number was. There's no hammers either, meaning if you run out of ammo, you either have to die or restart. Forcing the player to restart or die without a way out of a situation is a game design sin. Please keep this in mind whenever you're making a game, guys. Do not force your player to lose. It's never fun. Let me explain why it's not fun. Here's the scenario. The super zombie has about 300 HP, at least according to the wiki, and each bullet of the AK blah 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 does 2 points of damage. There are 3 AKs in the stage, one which is hidden behind some bricks and really hard to see just to harass the player. Now you only need 150 of the 297 collective bullets to hit, right? It sounds easy, but it's not, for 3 reasons. The spread and fire rate of the AK is a little bit sporadic, so this makes it already difficult to to use. Not to mention it burns through ammo really fast. That's only the minor issue though, but it adds to the other two. The fact that the stage is dark makes it hard to aim your gun and hit the target a lot of the time. But even if it wasn't, the attack range of the super zombies' jump attack can tag you from off screen. So if you aren't careful, you get hit. Not to mention the interval of said jump attack is randomized, so you can't predict it fast enough to get out of the shockwave's range unless you're really quick or really lucky. This is also the one time when tanking a hit isn't effective, as it does a lot of damage. And it's even worse if he freaking grabs you and beats the crap out of you. So basically, you're firing in the dark with limited ammo, hoping the super zombie dies before it jumps you. Honestly, if you're gonna play this game, I recommend doing like me and just exploit the AI and get him caught on one of these corners. I hate to cheese a game like that, but it's cheesing me harder, so sorry, not sorry. This is also when randomized healing is absolutely unacceptable. Because remember, once you get this one down, you've got two others to deal with after the first, and more than likely, you've taken a lot of damage trying to kill this thing. Fortunately, there's a good amount of health to offset the randomizedness, and the game also gives you missiles after you unlock the layer of, if you will, of the other two. And the missiles are far more effective at destroying super zombies. Far more. The other stage I hate is the freaking bat cave, but I'm about to get to that. Another thing I noticed was that enemies tend to clog up hallways, such as where you have to kind of like mine through them because there's like a traffic jam of sorts. I get what they're doing here. They're trying to prevent the player from running past every enemy, focusing on brains and zombies and booking it out of there. So good luck speedrunning this game. The problem here is most of the time the enemies will chase you without a triggering range, stalking you from the very beginning of the level loading in. Given that, since enemies can and will collide with you and each other, there's really no pass-through for anyone in this case. And most enemies will pre-clog themselves in later parts of the level before you even get there. But it's fine when you've already got a hammer, as you can just kind of chill and trash them. But sometimes the challenge is getting through a horde of enemies to actually get to a hammer or a weapon before you die. Again, since you collide with enemies, you will get trashed in this case, hoping that the AI decides to randomly walk away and let you out. Enter the second level I really don't like, called What's Up with the Bats. It is a dark, very mazy cave with a bunch of freaking bats in it. See, the objective here is to find and get a hammer before these guys kill you. And they don't do much damage, and it only takes one hit to kill them, really. But seeing as you have no hammer, it adds up, and you can't run past them. And it's not easy, either in gameplay or mental endurance. Out of the freaking way. Okay, no more of that level for a second. Let me just go ahead and spoil the keychain level for you while it's on my mind. The reason why I'm spoiling it for you now is so that you won't have to worry about it. Okay, so, for your hard work in seeking and hunting for the tiny switches and enduring spider bites and copious amounts of annoying bats and perseverance and all that jazz, it unlocks a level with a unique enemy and challenge. Let's observe what wonders await for your work. Wait for it. Congrats! It's a really short level with pumpkins that slowly attack you if you get too close, like those dancing novelty items. They're like mumbles, except they're weaker and lamer. So this is the Diet Coke of the Bat Maze, basically. The gimmick here is to tiptoe through them and try not to wake them up, but seriously, all you have to do is bait them out of the way and run. I did this on my first try. Something tells me they got this level and the Bat Maze mixed up in this game.
Seriously, there is a walkthrough on Hamumu's website, which is cool that they actually made their own walkthrough, but they call it everyone's favorite level, and to tell them to move before the level fades in for a better chance at winning. And yes, I said chance at winning. It's actually that bad to where it's actually a semi-luck-based mission because of how bad it is. Oh, should I fix it? No, it's a feature. Okay. I know I'm kind of being hard on the game for what flaws it does have. I mean, we are talking about a one-man development team that's making games for free, sometimes. I mean, really, the weapons and the enemies in the game actually really keep this game interesting throughout the whole thing, because you want to know, what else am I going to get to use? What else am I going to get to, thwack with my hammer? What's next? And you can tell there's a lot of heart put into the game, too. Really. The issues really do need to be pointed out, though. If not for Hamumu, but for other developers out there that may be wanting to make a game of their own someday, Not to mention these bugs actually persist in the sequels, and those cost money. And that changes things. Nobody wants to buy a broken game. Speaking of the sequels, I only played the demos to kind of see if I want to cover those in the future of Dr. Lunatic and Supreme with I'm Hungry Again. And based on the demos alone, I kind of don't. I mean, yeah, I looked up gameplay of the other levels, but the thing about demos is you have to understand that this is your hook. You need the right bait. And what's in the demos is not enough to sell it, let alone at its price tag of $20 and $30 respectively. Dr. Lunatic, Supreme with cheese.
I mean, to put it in perspective, you only get the forest levels in the Dr. Lunatic's demo, which honestly just used the outdoor zones tile sets of Spooky Castle. Having played Spooky Castle, my mind says, let's see, I could spend my $20 that I have right now on either Dr. Lunatic, which is Spooky Castle but with more levels and a few extra things, or I could buy Slime Rancher, which is an early access game with lots of content already in it that I have not seen, with more to come. Look, I know I'm comparing a game from years ago with a game now, but it's being sold at $20 today alongside other games in the market. This isn't really an unfair comparison at all from a consumer standpoint, you see. You really have to convince people to give you money, otherwise they're not even going to bat an eye. That's just the consumer market, honestly. Anyways, back to Spooky Castle. So like I said, there's a lot to like about this game. One obvious write-off is the sound design. I love that almost all the sounds in the game are just someone, maybe even Hamumu himself, making them by mouth. It kind of makes me think of Softindo a bit. Heck, he even credits himself in the credits the same way, so he's obviously proud of this game. Which is good, you should be. You did all this on your own and you gave it out for free. It's still kind of tacky to credit yourself so much in the credits, though. But seriously, listen to these sounds.
Hammer off. I'm cool, cat bad.
Aren't they delicious? It's like a tasty pizza. Man, I'm hungry. Like I said, the levels are sort of themed around certain challenges. Like, for instance, there's one based around a sliding box puzzle. There's only one of the sliding puzzles in the game, but it's just enough to be interesting. Then there's the tower, which sort of plays like an open world, letting you take on the boss early or beef up your powers first. There's a few dark mazes in the game, and a few arena-style areas as well. That lets you fight many enemies a la dual stick shooter style. Since the dual sticks, but yeah. There's even a few cheat codes in the game that you can type in at any time. You rarely see that nowadays. Just type them in and boom, you get health, or hammers, keys, or you can just beat the level you're in. Which I'll say came in great handy because you have to save manually and kind of been spoiled by auto-saves nowadays, and I spaced out after getting all the way to the pumpkin level. That was an hour and a half worth of work gone, and I quit before saving, so that was a good cheat to have. You know what I don't get? Why are people so afraid of having cheats in the games? I mean, I can understand with online multiplayer and the like, but I'm talking about single player. I mean, I used to be just like, play the game and enjoy it without cheats, man up. But isn't part of the game playing it how you like it? I mean, who hasn't made certain sort of house rules in an analog game to make the game a little bit smoother? Come on, let's have some more cheat codes. Bring back Big Head mode. A lot of games have you mow down really weak enemies with a fast shooting weapon, so it's kind of refreshing to have this game that you have to fight enemies that take about 3 or 4 hits, and you actually have to kind of shoot and run and make sure you don't get yourself trapped. The best part probably has to be the final boss, as generic as that sounds, in which you fight the Thing and his thingies. It's fun because it gives you plenty of items to fight with and health to heal up, including the thingies drop rate of both. Also, again with the sounds, they sound so sleepy. I don't know why, but having the Thing use its mortar attack just sounds really satisfying. It's that thoom sound. Thoom, thoom. It's pretty straightforward in the final fight, too. You just hit him with everything you got until he blows up. Then you're treated to an animation with the Wafa being all, like, victorious, and you're given a little bit of post-monologue, and there you go.
So yeah, that's Spooky Castle. Maybe I'm a little biased because it holds some nostalgic value for me, but I still find it to be a very fun game, and I do recommend that all of you go check it out sometime. It's short, sweet, and fun, and not too overbearing either. And I do feel kind of bad for tearing into it here and there, but that's kind of the nature of reviews, really. And again, I'm only pointing these out because I not only want Hamumu to improve in the future, but I also want everybody out there to kind of, get an idea of what to do and what not to do. That's kind of the point of the show, really. But really, all in all, it's just my dumb opinion. A dumb opinion from a dumb kid. From a smart game, or something like that. Now that I think about it, what if Hamumu brought this to Steam? I bet he would be able to make a lot more sales this way. And maybe reduce the price a little bit to $10 and $15 respectively. And, you know, of course, fix the startup bug. Seriously. Nobody wants to buy a broken game. Steam would be perfect for Supreme with Cheese, though. I mean, think about it. All of the levels in that game are actually user-generated. So if you somehow hook that up with Steam Workshop, you could have a really easy way for people to share their levels with each other. Endless breadsticks and content. Boy, I'm hungry. Anyways, Spooky Castle, I would definitely give it a shot. Give the demos a try too. Maybe you might have a different opinion than I would. But that doesn't mean that I won't cover those in the future. Maybe I'll come back to them. I totally recommend giving them a shot. Or a hammer. It's a hammer, because, you know, I don't think I left anything out. Well, there is the secret boss, but I don't think you're ready for him. Nobody's ready for him. You think you're ready for him. You're saying to yourself, I want to see that secret boss. But nobody is prepared for the secret boss.
So, for the foolish, you go to the barracks and you want to get into the room that's labeled the mess hall. You know, the one with the Chinese food in it. There's a small passage that's well hidden here to the left. Enter to your doom. Behold the torture chamber. Grab what you can, step forth, and meet the ultimate rival. Happy Stickman! Run! Run like the coward you are as he gnaws at your jugular and your ankles and whatever else he's hungry for. I don't know, maybe he'll eat that Chinese food you're toting around. He is but skin and bone, so he's as ravenous as one can be. His happiness is only but of imagining of how your giant oversized head will taste. In between his jaws, he cannot be stopped, but he can be beaten. He has but one weakness.
His hubris.
Happy Stick forever.
That's what kills him. He ultimately decides when he can win the game by, shoot me now. He's a nice guy to get to know once he's dead. Thanks for playing.